Hello, my name is Nate Schwab, and I'm a student at the University of Minnesota. And today I'm going to talk to foreign exchange students' experience when they culture, Western culture, very just in terms of cultural norms and how they think. I want to be clear that the things that I'm talking about this generalizations, but they shouldn't be taken as broad stereotypes. But in general, research on the difference between cultures has supported this evidence. So what is the chief difference? Probably that gets talked about. Cultures live in complex. They're constantly thinking about how they are in relation to other people. And because of that, they're very collectivist cultures. Then we have Western cultures over here, and they live in constraining social worlds about how other people view them. They're very individualistic. Eastern cultures engage complex individuals. They're very socially interdependent. Looking outward, trying to kind of coordinate, like I said, others. And they do that in order to minimize social friction. In some ways, you could almost look at it as being that culture developed. And of course, Western cultures, as I said, are independent. They're autonomous. They're very individual. Now, to illustrate these differences, very briefly, the blue side is going to be representing West. The red part of the infographic is going to be representing East. Infographic created by Yang Lu. All be found online at Get Out the Words and the number 12.com. It'll take you right that she created. So let's go now to, so just take a minute here. I apologize for the delay. We're running into some technical problems. Here we go. So we'll begin with the difference in lifestyle. As we said, independent versus dependent. On the left-hand side, you have the lone Westerner, and on the right-hand side, you have that collective culture of the Eastern culture. I thought this was really interesting. In Western cultures, we are very, and I say we because I did grow up in a Western culture in the U.S. We're very punctual. We're always on time, whereas the Eastern culture has kind of a more broad sense of time, in terms of when we have to show up. At a party, socially, as I said, Eastern culture is very collectivist. They are more apt, maybe not literally stand in a circle, but in general include more people rather than breaking off separate groups. In Western cultures, because people are so individualistic, they tend to have a maybe not so much of a reverence for authority, and so stands head and shoulders maybe a little bit higher. But then on the right, the Eastern culture, you have this towering authority figure. Eastern cultures are definitely, because of that, very, always being concerned about how others are viewing you, and you're interdependent. Authority is a big deal. It's a classic Western approach. You have a problem, let's just run right through it. Very headstrong, and let's just get it done and solve our problems. Whereas the collectivist approach is, let's go around it. Let's not disturb things too much. Size of an individual's ego, we've already talked about this, but this is a great graphic representation of the individual. How important are they? Standing in line, another classic approach, whereas we're very individualistic. You're in front of me, you're behind me, this is where I am. It's more of a collectivist approach again in, hey, we're all kind of here, we're all going to get to where we're going, so let's kind of club together. Again, these are generalizations, but I think they serve an important illustrative purpose. Complexity of self-expression. As I said, Eastern cultures engage in multiple and complex role relations. And so because of that, it's their inner self is also very complex and definitely not straightforward. Whereas with Western culture, sometimes what you see is what you get. We're going to be straight shooters. Whereas Western cultures are definitely apt to show anger, be more, just more emotional. We're going to show what's on our sleeve because we're individualistic. Whereas Eastern cultures, hey, if I'm feeling upset, I really got to, for the good of everyone and being socially calm, I'm going to smile even when I'm really, really upset. Same sort of thing here. I'm going to smile when it's sunny, when I'm upset, when it's raining. Western culture, I'm going to show it, whereas we're always going to be happy regardless, and it's that social norm for Eastern cultures. So that was a good illustrative look at the differences. So now we need to talk about the implications. I think when Eastern folks are coming over to Western cultures, they need to be cognizant of how Westerners approach the world and how they act socially. It's a very straightforward method. But I think at the same time, it's very, very imperative that Westerners understand how Eastern cultures operate. Only when there's understanding can we find common ground. And for example, if maybe a Westerner would get upset with how an Eastern cultural exchange student, foreign exchange student, is approaching a problem. If you're in a group work like at the university, if they understand, what's going on, the psychology behind it, they're going to be more apt to understand that person and find cohesion, which is, of course, what the person from the Eastern culture, their cultural norm would dictate. So I hope that was helpful. Just give you a quick, slightly long-winded look at the behavioral differences between Eastern and Western culture and the implications as foreign exchange students come over to the United States and Western states. Thank you.